All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the WIT podcast. Whether you're joining us by listening to us as you're either working on your business or going for a walk or wherever this may find you, we're so glad you're here. If you're watching, thanks for taking the time to watch this episode. And of course, leave comments and questions and all good stuff and whatever you feel inspired by after hanging out with us today. So we have our guest today, Natalie. We're going to start what we like to do with some rapid fire questions. They don't know. I mix them up every time, so you can't really prep for them. It's just a better way, I think, to get to know the guest versus like, hey, tell us where you're from, because that just kind of gets a little robotic. So let's jump in. Tell us, favorite color?
Yellow.
Current show you're binging?
Gilmore Girls.
That's like the number one answer. That's so crazy. And it's one of my favorite shows, and I could dive into that a lot. Okay. Favorite snack?
Monster Mix. It's kind of like trail mix, but it has like M&Ms in it.
Go-to song when you got to get like pumped up for something?
Party in the USA.
How old were you when you started your business?
13.
What's the name of your business?
It's Cases by Natalie.
And where do you live?
I live in Maryland.
And what are you most grateful for right now?
I'm currently most grateful for my recent launch that just happened because it went super well. And typically just kind of the way I sell cases, it's not like the day goes well. It's sort of like that case gets ordered a lot for the next few months. But like yesterday and this morning have been going really well. So that's what I'm very grateful for.
Well, let's stay there for a little bit and talk about, so you had a launch yesterday, and tell them, you say cases, but depending on where this finds people, what do you mean? What kind of cases are you talking about? And do you have any nearby that you can show us?
Yes. So I sell iPhone cases. This is actually the spring, Flowers Have Sprung case that just launched yesterday as part of kind of the Summer Bright collection. So I basically, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just wondering, tell us more about the launch. Like, are there more in that collection? Is that the collection that launched? Is that the one that you're really excited about? That's what we're
Yeah, so I was super excited about this launch. Literally every single design in this launch was like amazing. So the first one I have is they're all very summery and bright was the goal. So this is the first one. And
that's super cool. For those that are not on YouTube, it reminds me of tiles. It's like little tiles, but almost a mosaic. So they're not all exactly the same size. I don't know if that's, I hope
yeah,
that you're okay.
No, I was inspired by like window painting, and when you put like window glass paintings and different lights through there. The next one is kind of this like retro flower one. And for those of you guys who who can't see the video, it's like a beige background with different color flowers all around it.
Pinks and purples and greens.
Yeah, lots of colors was definitely the goal of this launch. And then I wanted to do something with like shapes and stuff like that. So this one is the colorful shapes case. All of
definitely
these
colorful shapes. It's, different, like just almost like amoeba-ish type shapes.
Yeah, all of these you can find on my website.
Cool.
This is definitely one of my favorites. It's like sunrise and it's just so bright and I love it.
What's the name of that one? What's the name of that case?
Sunrise case.
Sunrise. So the sunrise case is what she said, but the colors are stunning. And you design all of these, or how do you design them?
Yeah. So I hand design them on my iPad Pro, and I have my Apple Pencil 2nd generation, and I use the app Procreate. And so I have the design in mind. Kind of typically I go in with some sort of idea of what I want to do. It obviously changes and there's multiple drafts typically of the design. It's never like I just design it and that's the final draft. There's always something that needs to be tweaked and changed. So I'll design on my iPad, and then maybe a few days later, I'll come back, look at it, show it to a friend, have them give me their opinion more, and then do that process a few more times, and then put onto a case.
Okay. Did we go through all? I interrupted that because I was just curious if you made them, but are there more in this collection?
one more. This is kind of like a gingham case.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gingham pattern, and it kind of reminds me of like a picnic, summer,
Yeah.
spring vibe. And so this one and the Flowers Have Sprung case are available in multiple colors. The rest of them
Okay.
are just one color.
So you said you launched yesterday. Can you tell us which one is your top seller?
Top sellers, definitely the retro flowers case. You guys have everyone's been ordering has been loving this one. This one's been in the majority of the orders, but I'd say a close second has been the Flowers Have Sprung case.
So clearly flowers.
Yes.
So that's a thing. That's a thing. See, I would have guessed sunrise and I would have 100% guessed sunrise is like the top seller.
The sunrise and the kind of mosaic one, it's actually called colorful disco one, is my favorites, but like
Yeah,
by a
those are
little bit.
my two favorites. That's so funny. Those are totally my two favorites. My dog's just coming to say hi. Okay, so you design them all on Procreate, which if someone's hearing that and they have no idea what that is, what's like the simplest way to describe that?
It's basically an app where there's brushes and you can digitally draw and design on it.
Okay, and then you transfer that to what to then print them onto the cases because there's some multiple steps there.
So I will transfer them to this paper that I have. It's a special kind of transferring paper. Well, I'll print out and then put on the paper.
Mhm.
And then there's a template, and I will attach the template to the paper, and the design will transfer. And then you will attach the template to the mold of the case to the phone.
Okay, so it's definitely going to make sense to those who make cases. For those of us that don't, it's interesting to hear the steps. I mean, how long does it take from printing out to creating the case? How many minutes is that?
I would say with like waiting and cooling, one case takes about 10 minutes to make, but I do typically make them in bulk because I have multiple orders to make. So while one's cooling, I'll be printing out the next one. So it's
Okay.
not like it just takes 10 minutes per case. I'd say I typically spend like an after dinner to bedtime making cases, like 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay. What's the price range?
$10 for any regular case that's designed that's pre-made, and then I have $15 for custom cases where you can basically submit any single photo that you want, and I can put it onto the case.
Oh, I wonder if I should do a custom case like for WIT or something. Because this is
It's
very
definitely
interesting to me.
popular.
Wait, what'd you say?
I said it's definitely very popular.
To have people to do custom.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is gonna, I mean, you're gonna be like maybe mortified. Okay, this is the case that I use. I have not changed it in a very long time. Now people are like, why do you carry your credit cards in here? It's because I used to split my time between pre-COVID San Diego and New York, and in the city, it just is so much easier for me to have the credit cards right here and then pull the subway pass. Everything just seemed really convenient. Uh, and then my teens that I work with at WIT will say, well, don't you change your case out? I'm like, why would I don't know. It's just there. Like, why am I changing it? And it's like, it's so cool for me to see. This is why I love what I do, is that I get to learn the different trends and for different demographics. And I guess tell us more about this. This isn't, people aren't just buying one case from you and then keeping it for years. Tell us what you're seeing with your customer.
So that's definitely like a big thing that I leverage and market. So like with Cases by Natalie, I say we, it's just me. I definitely try to price all my cases affordable at $10, which is, I wouldn't say like competitive, but it's kind of like on the lower price range compared to other businesses that make cases the same way, but also at the same time other larger like full-blown companies are like $40-$50 cases.
Mm-hmm.
So when you shop like here with them only being $10-$15 most, you can definitely like switch out your case daily, weekly, monthly, and it's like I try to make it really affordable and easy for people to do that.
And do people do that? Is that what you're seeing with your customer and your demographic, that people like to switch out their cases?
Yeah, so typically someone will order 1 to 2 cases, but I have definitely seen recently, considering my business is hitting like the 10-month mark, I've had a few like returning, and then I think someone's purchased like 4 times.
Okay.
So I've definitely seen returning people starting to come around again now that like my business is getting like a little older, I
Okay.
guess. So it's definitely been happening.
Okay, that's really, I mean, that's maybe people see it as just an extension of themselves, an accessory, another way to accessorize maybe their outfit or their day or just their life by having this thing that makes them happy. Because I will definitely say when I look at your cases, there's definitely a brightness and a happiness to it. So I can see what people might want to be looking down and seeing that. So tell us again how old your company is.
So I started my company in late June of 2020. So it's about 10, I guess 11 months old now
Yeah,
at this point.
you're almost going to celebrate your first year. Do you have anything planned for a special anniversary?
Not exactly. I'm sure I'll do some sort of giveaway or sale or something along that point, but I definitely want to do something special.
Well, yeah, it's a big deal. And I think now we're going to jump into the part that, yes, we're celebrating a launch and yes, she's doing well. People are buying 4 cases, all these things. But I can tell you for sure, even though this is the first time I've even actually chatted with Natalie, that that's not how you start. So let's go back to the beginning because we'd love, people that are listening to the podcast. Many of them are just starting their entrepreneurial journey. Some of them have been in it, but they're going to have these kind of relatable Me Too moments as they hear you say, like, oh yeah, I remember that when I was getting started. So take us back to why you decided to do cases.
So honestly, like all the way back when I was a kid, this is kind of a funny
You're
story.
still a kid, Natalie.
When I was when I
I
was
love when
like
teens do that. Yes. Okay. You're a teen, but I mean, like you are still. So what's a kid to you? How old were you?
I think it was like 4th grade. When I was in
Okay.
4th
10.
grade,
So 10 years old. Okay. That's okay. So you
I
were
think
10.
when I was 10, I was in elementary school. I was jealous that my parents had like heated seats in like the front row. So I
Mm-hmm.
was still in a booster, like a seat, but like I didn't have the back anymore. I just had like the bottom seat,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I want like heated seats, like I want cooling seats, like I think that'd be so cool. So me and my dad came up with like this plan to make like a booster that had like heated seat, but like a heated booster,
Mm-hmm.
basically, or a car seat. A car seat. Sorry, I'm calling it
Yeah.
a booster. But it's
Booster car seat. I know what you mean.
yeah, a heated car seat and like air conditioning, and we actually like took our old one and like bought the materials and kind of like put it together. So I kind of say like that's when my like business entrepreneur, I didn't know it at the time, but that's kind of when it started. And then obviously I like went through the years, but then it was COVID and it was quarantine, and I was scrolling through TikTok and I was bored, and I don't know, I did whatever everyone else did during quarantine. And I had seen like a few small businesses. I'd seen some like lip gloss businesses, and I actually saw some phone cases. But I came across this one phone case business. I think her name's Cases by Kate, and she basically was 20 at the time, and she said she started a phone case business, and she got it like she had it for 7 years, and it was getting professionally like manufactured by a big company. Like it, she doesn't make it the way I made my cases. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So actually my original idea for my cases was I basically had like clear cases and I would put in inserts in them, which were really just cut out pieces of paper that I laminated. But
Totally.
that's like how it started, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say this was like May, maybe late April. And then I obviously realized after a little bit, like, okay, I can't sell this. Like, I wouldn't want to buy this. Who else would
Mm-hmm.
want to buy this? Because literally a piece of laminated paper. So I did research and I found the method that I now use. And so after like a month of trial and error, like I'm saying, I bought like the wrong paper, the wrong printer. I probably like misspent like so much money. I finally like perfected the way I now make cases.
Okay. So who was helping you do that? Were your parents giving you that money to play around with and to buy those things, or did you use your own money? I just know that's going to be one of the questions the teens ask, or an assumption a teen makes.
Yeah, so I use my own money to do it. But I didn't start full blown. I only sold at the beginning X no, I was 11 and XR cases
Okay.
are the only 2 cases I sold. And I do actually think I split the cost of my printer with my parents because that was like $300. And I think I convinced them to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
I did like buy all the cases myself, and I did buy the paper myself, and I did spend all the sort of money besides the printer.
Mm-hmm.
I did that.
Yeah, that's super normal. Some people are just curious about that because sometimes you can start with nothing. Sometimes you get somebody that like will split the cost with you, or sometimes you get birthday money and people will use that. But that seems to be something that I've either heard people make judgment about, like, oh, they got started because their parents gave them money, which there's nothing wrong with that. If your parents
No,
can
definitely
give you
not.
money to help you get started, there's just not, that's, if anyone's like shaming you for that, that's just silly, because you can get the money, but you have to have the hustle and the hard work to actually create something. And then there's situations where people have to create their own fundraising campaigns, or use their babysitting money or birthday money, or uh, barter with people and say, can I use your printer? And then you can use my thing. So there's lots of different ways to get started, and there's no shame in any of it. The fact that you're starting and then you're willing to put in the work is what should be celebrated. So I wanted to take a moment there, because I have the more work that I've been doing in the space, and I hear comparisons or cattiness. That is something that I hear, like, well, they could do that because their parents gave them money. Same thing as adults, it comes out a little different. Oh, they could do that because they inherited money, or they got this, or they, and whoever is doing that, you just actually want to like never like talk to those people. Those people are toxic. Okay, that off of my soapbox. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk on toxic people. Uh, but okay, so you got a little start from the parentals, but then you've kept it going. I love that you're sharing about doing the laminated thing in the clear case. That is such real talk. I look back the story, and I haven't told this story yet on the podcast. When I first started WIT, I bought a Hanes white t-shirt, and with a Sharpie, I wrote, at the time it was called WIT Kids, and I wrote witkids.org on the t-shirt, and I wore it to an event. I thought that was a good move. Good thing it's worked out 10 years later, and that is framed. That Hanes t-shirt is framed in my office. Because when teens come to me and say, I don't have any money, I can't get started, I say I had a t-shirt and a Sharpie, and I created that. That was like and I remember feeling so proud walking around in that. So, but now I like cringe, but also I'm like proud of myself. So I don't know how you feel if you have any of those old cases in the laminate, if you ever like look at it and kind of like shudder, but also are like, damn, like you're willing to try something. Do you still have any around?
Not. I don't think I actually have any of the laminate ones, but like I said, for like that first month, like May to June, like May to end of June, so I launched June 22nd. Um, I messed up a ton of cases, and I literally have ones that are like half white and like crinkly, and like I don't even know like how I did that. I was like, how did I even manage to like make it look like this? So I have some of those.
Which is great, because that's just proof that you don't start off perfect. I mean, none of us start off our businesses perfect, but we do. Those of us that stick with it, there is something in us that keeps us going. Can you talk about what kept you going and you didn't just give up?
So I feel like I've definitely like always been this way where like I either like commit 100% to something or I like don't do it, which is like good and bad. So like if I'm passionate about it, like for example, I was really passionate about my business. Um, I I just like haven't stopped. I checked like through all of my old things and I posted like literally every single day for like the first like 5 months. And recently, I've started choosing quality over quantity a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So I say now my goal is to post like 4, 5 out of 7 days a week. Sometimes I'll post more, but like 4 days minimum.
So you just had it in you. You were just intrinsically motivated. You found the thing that you enjoyed doing. I'm wondering if you correct me if I'm wrong. I wonder if it's not so much I enjoy making phone cases as much as it is I love creating art and then finding a place to put that and getting that out into the world. Or is it the cases? Can you talk about that?
I think it's like a mixture. I love coming out with new designs, like launches and everything
Mm-hmm.
makes me so excited, or like new content. Just like I recently had some ideas to make some like video content on my feed, and like I'm really excited about that. So I've been like making a ton of those. And I always get like new product photography ideas, and I always get so excited. So definitely like creating new things. But I
Mm-hmm.
also do enjoy making cases. It's like satisfying to me, like seeing the design come from like just my iPad then
Mm-hmm.
show up on a case. It's just like every single time, like it's just so perfect and so satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so great that you can get your art out into the world in this way. It's a really creative way as somebody, if you're an artist and that you can get your work out there. I mean, don't wait for it to get onto the museum walls or the gallery walls. You can put it in people's hands and walk around, and then your customers advertising you. Do you have cases by Natalie on I don't see it in the design. Do you work it into the design or no?
No, I don't. I feel like that if I did, people wouldn't want that because I've heard complaints from teens from like other bigger case businesses. They're like, "Ugh, I love the design, but like I hate like their little logo on it or something like that." So I
Interesting.
try to I do have thank you cards that encourage people to share and take pictures. And every single time someone shouts me on their story or makes a post or something, I always repost it, which is
Hmm.
also part of my like marketing tactic. But that's kind of how I build trust. And people have told me they're like, I always get asked about my case and I always like tell people about it. So obviously 100% of people don't market, but I try to encourage people to use like word of mouth more than just like
Hmm.
say cases by Natalie on the design.
Well, that's always the best way. I mean, if you can get people talking about your brand without you making them talk about it, then that's a really good thing. And if then people are looking at something and say, "Oh, I like that," or "I want to be part of that," then that's a really cool thing versus like shoving it down their throats, like like putting your logo everywhere. Uh, it is funny how some brands people love to have the logo. It's almost a status symbol to have the logo everywhere on on you, and then with other
Mhm.
people are like, no, I want it hidden. So that's interesting. Okay. So what are your most like what are your current goals for the company? What are you planning?
So my biggest goal for 2021 is like basically to have a design for everyone's aesthetic. So a lot of my recent launches have been centered around aesthetics. So I had like the retro, which one was kind of like the indie and that new vibe that's going around. And then this one's like a beachy, not beachy, sorry, this is like a summer bright vibe. And I did have a minimalist collection launching, but I ended up not launching that because I just wasn't too happy with the designs.
Okay.
And so all of my recent launches this year have been centered around aesthetics, and I plan on having like a bohemian. And so I really want a case for everyone. And custom cases does kind of accomplish that for me, like short term, because literally any design you want, I can make for you. But I want a pre-made design where people see that they're like, oh, that's my aesthetic, or I like that
Hmm.
one and that one. So that's like that's my goal for this year.
Okay. Any Instagram number goals or financial goals, or are you more in the product design goals right now?
I haven't really thought too much about Instagram. Definitely not the financial goals. I mean, generally, right now I'm at 10K, so maybe like 15K, but that's kind of like a number I'm just like making up
Throwing
right
out there.
now. Yeah, I don't really have too much of a goal, but more like content. Like, for example, I said I'm really
Hmm.
excited about this video, so I really want to create video content, and I'm really set on I want to post 4 to 6 times a week, and I want to make I've been focused on TikTok, so I want to make 2 to 3 TikToks a day. So I feel like more of my goals are like I want to hit this number of um this amount of content or this quality of content over like followers or um financial.
Which could lead to that though, right? That's the thing. When you focus on solid content out into the world, that could easily lead to getting more followers and more more funds. Have you ever done a case that has been to raise money for a cause or anything like that?
Kind of. I haven't done a case, but I did the month of October. I think 10% of my proceeds from that month I do donate to the Environmental Defense Fund because
Hmm.
partially I'm very passionate about that, and also there was a really big thing going around how it was like there was some countdown clock, and it was like after this much time like we can't reverse the effects of climate change and stuff like that. So I really wanted, with it being like a trend and me being passionate about it, I really wanted to help. So I did that, but I haven't specifically had a case where I like donate 10% or 15% of the proceeds yet. That
Okay.
is something I would want to do though.
Yeah, I just was curious. Um, those are solid goals. I mean, it's really interesting because it's really on you, isn't it? I mean, you have to create that content and put yourself out there. Is that easy for you to put yourself out there on Instagram, on TikTok? I mean, talk to us about that. And have you, if it isn't easy, if it is easy for you now, was it easy for you in the beginning?
So definitely at this point, I feel like I'm pretty confident doing content and making photos. There are definitely like a ton of photos that I've never posted because I like look at it for too long and I'm kind of like, I look a little weird in this, or like I don't love it. And I think it definitely like I've shown to other people and everyone's like, you look fine, but if I'm not happy with the content, I don't want to put it out there because it's on social media forever. Um, I definitely at the beginning I wasn't as confident in like just talking on my stories and doing stuff like that. I did show my face kind of from the beginning, but I would always use a filter. I took a lot of photos of my friends and I posted that, and I still do. I have my friends model for me, but now my feed is majority of me versus majority of my friends.
That's really interesting because that means that you just eventually got more comfortable, but first you had to do it through your friends. And I will say to those watching, listening, sometimes it is a lot easier to promote and support somebody else's business when it's your business and you are putting yourself out there. There's almost like this whole other layer of scrutiny that we put on ourselves. So if you're feeling that, that's super normal. uh to maybe, even if you're thinking like, oh, I can't promote my own products, but I would love for my friends to promote them, I'm just not comfortable yet. It's sometimes it has to do with the fact that what if people don't like it? And so you put it out there, your face is out there, your product's out there. So if anybody leaves a comment like, these are lame, this is ugly, this is whatever, that there's that potential that that could happen and that that could hurt. So I've definitely had that happen to me. It even happened to me recently. And so I'm not going to lie and say that that's not going to happen if you put yourself out there as an entrepreneur. It absolutely can and potentially will happen to you. The cool thing is you always get to choose how you respond to them. So I'll share mine later, but I'm curious now, have you had that experience of how, when people haven't, if anybody, has anybody ever publicly insulted the product or not liked the product, and how have you handled that?
So once, someone, and it was kind of a weird situation where they, I don't know if they lied or they like didn't understand, but USPS was just taking a while for them to get the case, and they basically like posted that I was a scam, that they never got their case and stuff like that, and that like they had terrible customer service, and like I don't know, like I had been replying to them and everything, but it was kind of hard to convey that like I don't know what to do. Like it says it's in transit, this is where it is. The estimated arrival date is this date, like it's going to come. So that's like the only time I've had someone like publicly complain about my products. I have had people this is the greats far outweigh the like negatives, but like I say 2 or 3 times I've had people leave bad reviews. Actually, one of them was someone from my school. My first bad review, this is actually a funny story. My first bad review, this girl ordered, and she ordered 3 cases for me for my school, and I was so excited, and I think this was like my fourth order, and she left like a long comment about how like the yellow on the case looked more yellow in the picture, and it was like it wasn't as like bright as she thought it was. And obviously it was a private review, so no one else saw, but like I remember being crushed by that because it was
Yeah.
like the fourth piece I made. It was in like the second week of me having my business, and a girl that I went to school with since elementary school just like left this like, it wasn't even mean. I don't think she was trying to be mean, but like at the time it felt like personally attacked. You're on
I
mute.
was like, I'm on mute. I'm like, what just happened? Um, that's so normal. It's like in you almost go and like you like almost see red. It's like, or like your vision, because you see something that they're saying that's negative, or they didn't like the product, or they didn't like the program, or that feels, and then immediately it feels like they don't like you. And it's so important to separate yourself from the product, from the program, from the business. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I feel like there are productive ways to express your opinion and unproductive ways. perhaps she could have reached out to you privately and said that about the yellow, and could have given you a chance maybe even to make another version if there was that was accurate, and then hold off on doing that review. I do think that people should give people a chance to make it right. And then if you are going to put something out publicly, you should tell the person ahead of time, like, I'm going to put this out publicly because, so heads up, that's what I'm doing, so that you're not like totally caught off guard. But that would just, I totally relate to that, being like logging in and like getting it. And so let's talk about a positive thing. So I can empathize with you about the moment that you saw that review, even if it was private. So totally can feel you on that. Talk to us about a day or a moment where you really felt like, oh my gosh, I don't necessarily want to say made it, but like, okay, this is like a thing. I have a business here.
So this was 100% Black Friday. Black Friday was like, I still am in awe looking at it. I decided, because from like past business owners, I had done so much research. I had my dad like send me all these like Black Friday articles. My dad also works in business. And I had done like so much research. I had like sent out email campaigns ahead of time. I had promoted my big sale. I was doing buy 2 cases, get a third case free. Because I figured like you can get it for your friends and family. And I also read like using the word free, people hear the word free and they're like, oh my gosh, I gotta go. So I had used all my different marketing techniques that I had researched about and learned, and it paid off, definitely. I had the sale Black Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, and then I think Cyber Monday. Mm, yes, I believe I did it like
Okay.
that, the 4 days. I had that big sale. Um, and I was actually like coming back from my grandparents' house for some reason. I forget why I was up there, but I was up there for a reason. And I was driving back on Black Friday. And so I had the little thing set for 12 a.m. And for some reason, like I stayed up. I remember I stayed up and like at like 12:04, I had gotten an order. And then like I woke up the next morning at like 6, or not 6, sorry, like 8, probably something like that. And I had gotten like 2 more orders. And like I probably left the house at 12. And by that point I gotten 8 orders that day. And that was over the amount of orders I had gotten ever in a day. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I was in the car, and like every time you get an order, a little ka-ching sound happens. So
Mm-hmm.
like my whole family would like cheer or something like that. And I believe by the end of that day, I had gotten over 30 orders, like of like 3 cases, 4 cases each. It was
Mm-hmm.
such a big deal. And then that happened the next day, and that happened the next day, and that happened the next day. And like every single day, I think it did decline, but like it was still like 25 orders, which is still amazing. So I worked so hard that whole weekend, but that was literally like, it was amazing. Like every few minutes, every hour, just be like a little ka-ching sound, and it would make me so happy.
That's odd. Thank you for sharing that. That's a good, so there can be these great proud moments. It also means you get to, I like changing that word have to get to work hard. Now you get the orders. Now you got to put in the work to get it out. So what do you promise your customer in terms of turnaround time?
So I say 1 to 5 days for processing, 5 business days.
Okay.
So basically, I guess a week at most it could
Mm-hmm.
take for processing. I typically get it out in like 3 days max. But I do say that to give myself the time, just because am a student in school and I am an athlete. So times get busy and sometimes it just gets away from me and I'm unable to complete orders, or I stay out really late because I have soccer practice or something like that. But I do say that. And then shipping, I never promise anything because the postal service,
Yeah,
you,
you
you
can't
can't
promise
promise
that.
anything. But I do say like it typically takes a week to ship, but it might arrive sooner, and you're going to get a tracking number emailed to you and you can check it because it does give an estimated arrival date. They recently have been like arriving in like 3 days, I've noticed, which has been amazing because if I get it out in like the next day, in 3 days, like they literally get it in less than a week. So that's been great for me.
I love hearing, it doesn't even matter if it's a teen entrepreneur, an adult entrepreneur. I love hearing about people's businesses and just their process and their goals and how they do things. And just, I love it. And I think it's really important because you are a teen entrepreneur, that we spend a little bit of time before we wrap up on how you balance it. Now, people sometimes they hate that word balance. I don't have a problem with the word. I think it just is unique to everybody. So you have school, I heard you said you're an athlete, you play soccer, anything else? Is that your sport? Is that your,
Soccer is my main sport, but right now, soccer for high school is on, so I'm doing high school track and then club soccer at night.
oh, nice. I used to play soccer growing up. I love it. I think it's such a cool sport, and loved getting on the field and getting any like pent up aggravation off on the field. I love it. I'm a very competitive person, so that's good. Okay, you got soccer, you go to school, you got your business. Do you feel like you found a flow and you're managing it well, or talk to us about that?
So I definitely have, and I've obviously never run my business in person completely. Right now, I am currently hybrid. So that means I go in on Mondays and Tuesdays. But I will typically set like after dinner to like bedtime for completing orders, and then marketing and posting that happens throughout the day. I can do that as I'm doing other things. But I typically will I have track from 3 to 5, and then I have soccer sometimes at night. So on the nights I don't have soccer, I will after dinner, so around like 7:38, sometimes I'll take a break after dinner, depending on how many orders I have. I will then just spend the rest of the night till like 11 o'clock making orders, shipping them out, doing cases by Natalie things, replying to emails. And then like before dinner and that time I will do homework. Obviously, if I have a big project or something I'm working on, or I have soccer practice for club, it's sometimes won't happen that night, or it'll be shortened. And on those nights where I don't have as much time, I'll be like, okay, I want to get all orders up to this date done. So maybe I won't do all the orders, but then the orders that I don't have done have only been waiting for 2 days versus some of these orders have been waiting for 4 days and I have to get them out. So I'll sometimes just do like the back half of orders. I try to just like fulfill, but if I have to do that, I have to do that.
Yeah. You work on the weekends?
I do work on the weekends, but weekends are very busy and they don't post services and ship on Sunday. So sometimes it's like not even worth it to do it Saturday unless I can get it out Saturday morning. I might as well just like wait till Sunday afternoon to do it because it doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't. Okay. Interesting. So weekends are busy with work, or weekends are busy just in your life?
Homework and life,
Mm,
both.
okay. Well, it's good. It sounds like you have a pretty good rhythm for what's working for you. And the other thing I would say is that you found what I'm just noticing again, this is the first time we've chatted, that you really seem to enjoy what you're doing. And I think that's just really important because hey, I mean, I don't care if I'm working the weekends or if I'm working late at night on a project for WIT because it's what I really enjoy doing. I mean, I launched this podcast and I'm doing it for free right now. And it's because I really wanted to do it. I really felt called to creating another platform where I could feature teen entrepreneurs, and just thought to myself, well, let's just see what happens. Maybe people will take more teens seriously if there's an adult using the platform. And I think that that's really important to tell people is that it doesn't feel, I mean, yes, there are definitely things in my life that feel like work, but mostly it just feels like an extension of what I'd want to be doing anyway. And I find a lot of joy in doing the things connected to my business. And it sounds like you too, you also have that, Natalie. Would you agree?
I would agree. I definitely enjoy it. And if I didn't enjoy it, like I kind of said at the beginning, I probably wouldn't be doing it, if that makes sense. So I
Mhm.
only do it if I enjoy it. And I do enjoy it.
Okay. What's a tip you'd have for somebody who's listening and they are thinking about getting started, but they haven't started yet?
My biggest tip, and this is like from personal mistake, is to like promote before you launch. And even if you don't have your products, just kind of like tell people word of mouth, like, hey, I'm starting a business, which I know can like sometimes be hard because you're not sure if it's gonna like succeed or fail. But definitely like promoting before you launch, because I literally told my friends the day before, I was like, hey, I started a business. Can you come over tomorrow for a photo shoot? And they were like, sure. And then I launched, made a post, and I had them all like, well, they voluntarily, because they're my friends, like shared on their stories. And that's kind of how I started my business versus like promoting it for like I'd say a month is a good amount of time ahead of time. Another like random tip is just making sure like your username, I don't recommend having like any dots or underscores, just making sure it's like available on all platforms. It's just like a good thing to have. And if your business name isn't available on all platforms, it's sad, but I would kind of recommend choosing something different, and it might be a blessing in disguise for you.
Okay. What about a tip for somebody who feels stuck and not motivated right now?
So I know a lot of people have been feeling this way. I'd kind of say change up your content. Obviously, not completely, but maybe try a different vibe or a different type of content. Or if you're doing a ton of like flat lays and styled shots, maybe try doing some more modeled shots, or vice versa. If you're doing a ton of modeled shots, try doing some styled shots and flat lays, and try to kind of mix up what you're doing, because you can never get bored with change, if that makes sense.
And what about the teen entrepreneur who's thinking, I only have 50 followers on my business Instagram? How many do you have now, Natalie? I don't have it in front of me.
I think I hit 10.2K today.
Okay. So 10,000 followers. Oh, well, that's why, she's got 10,000. I only have 10. What do you say to that teen entrepreneur?
Well, I only had 10 at one
Mhm.
point. I only had 50. I was at 2K. I went through each step. I mean, it's been 11 months as of like May, we said
Mhm.
today. Like it's not like I just flew up overnight. It's been
Yeah.
like steady growth. And if you do put in the work, it will happen. And nothing you remember is like everyone has a different journey. Everyone's gonna go through different obstacles and challenges and successes, vice versa. So you can't ever compare, because you're not selling the same product as me. Even if you are, we don't have the same designs, because
Mhm.
let's hope we don't have the same designs. We don't have the same designs. We didn't start at the same time, at the same day. We don't even have the same community around us. We're connected with different people. So you really can't compare it so much, because there's so many like dependent variables that like how could you compare something that's so different?
I know we do that though. We compare people's highlight reels or their follower numbers and think, oh, they have it all figured out. It's not true. I can't even tell you. I mean, I write for other platforms, and when I start digging on some entrepreneurs, like they've bought their followers or they've done something where they've gone and they've followed like a ton of people, and then just to get them to follow back, and then they've unfollowed those people, and it's so you just don't know what people are doing. I always just think it's best to like stay in your lane. And obviously, I say stay in your lane and do WIT, like do whatever it takes, what that looks like for you. Have you ever had somebody take a design? I mean, they're out in the world. So could they steal a design? I don't, what, have you ever had that
Um,
experience?
Kind of. I've had like it happen once or twice, but definitely nothing compared to some other businesses I know that have gotten like so much stolen. I know some people get like their logos stolen all the time. I've been very lucky in that category where not too many of my designs, and also a few of my designs are kind of like more general. Like I can't really call someone out and putting like little flowers, little daisies, or
Hmm.
stars, because they could have just thought of little stars. So because a lot of more my designs are patterns, it's honestly like a little bit harder to call people out, because it totally could have been you thought of making a star pattern case. Like that's generic, and I made it because that's what people want, and they're probably making it because that's what people want. But if someone made something like I don't know, like my
Oh,
butterfly
that's
one,
so
but like if
pretty.
the butterflies, thank you, if the butterflies were in like the same position and kind of same designs, then I think I would call someone out. But just having a butterfly case, but if they were in like the same position, the same way they are, because I obviously hand draw this, then maybe.
Then maybe you'd be like, let's
Yeah.
talk. Let's have a conversation about that. Well, I'm so enjoyed meeting you and chatting with you. You were referred to us by another podcast guest, and that's really how we're doing it over here at the Do It podcast is having like-minded teens refer other like-minded teens to come on the podcast. I really want this platform to be a platform that uh, shines a light on people that are not teen entrepreneurs that are not only demonstrating doing WIT in their business but also in their life. I mean, we really value character and integrity over here at WIT, and we really want to showcase teens that are demonstrating those characteristics, living those characteristics, and also talking about business, because there's so much to learn about yourself and about life as an entrepreneur, whether you're a teen entrepreneur, an adult entrepreneur. And I'm wondering, Natalie, what do you think is one of the biggest life lessons you've learned so far as a young entrepreneur?
Definitely just like being more independent because I make everything. I do all the marketing myself. Obviously, my parents will help out a little bit, but majority of the work, like 99.9% of it, I do myself. So I've definitely learned independence.
I think that's a great thing to learn. Not only, I would add on to that, that you've learned to be independent, but also that you've demonstrated to yourself that you can be a successful, independent young woman. And that's a really cool thing to learn at a young age, because nobody can take that away from you as you grow up and as you go off to college or whatever you decide to do. No one will ever be able to say to you, well, you're too young for this, or you can't do this. You're like, dude, I've been like running my own business since I was like a teenager. So I'm good. Don't need to worry about if I'm capable of handling this or not. Well, I hope that all of you watching and listening were inspired and maybe got a takeaway or two. Share it in the comments or wherever you're listening to this. And where can they find you and follow you and buy your cases?
So you can follow me at Cases by Natalie on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest, and then and YouTube. And you can purchase at casesbynatalie.com. So super consistent among everything.
Just what you told them to do. You're living it. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And thank you to all of you that are listening. Remember, keep doing whatever it takes. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Do WIT podcast. If you got something valuable from this experience, which I hope you did, please feel free to share with your friends, comment wherever you're listening to this or watching this. And also don't forget to follow along on Instagram at Do WIT Podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Do WIT Podcast. And also, just remember, your ideas matter. You're never too young to make a difference. Just keep doing WIT.